Yes, welcome along to the Sonarpilot podcast, episode 1. Brought to you by Sonarpilot Audio. Music inspired by people, places and travel. That's our mantra. My name's Johnny Miller. I'm the label manager at Sonarpilot Audio. And we've been running for Sonarpilot for about 10 years now. Myself and the label's main artist, Michael Moppert, aka Sonarpilot. So on this podcast, we're going to delve deep into the music, into the mind of Sonarpilot. Going to be talking about the various Sonarpilot projects that have been created over the years. And for these first few episodes, we're going to be talking about the Mirage project. So I sat down with Michael recently and we had a talk about the music, about the label, about the Mirage project, about life.
Well, Sonarpilot started actually in 2008 when I developed the persona of Sonarpilot, and then in 2010 we opened the Sonarpilot Audio label, and since then we have released a steady stream of music, and we did singles, EPs, we did double albums, and it was all interesting. The music industry during these times changed fundamentally. At the beginning, still remember, the first double album, Mothership, we printed that thing as a CD, and we sold some of these things. And soon thereafter, we had the shift towards downloads, and then pretty soon it moved to streaming audio. And with this, the promotion and the whole industry also changed a lot, and it became more of a routine to a certain extent. And in 2018 I felt that I wanted to try something else, not just do another EP, follow up with promotion, DJ promotion and so forth. And that's when we did the first video. And I had no clue about video. I hadn't done any videos before. I grew up in the 80s, of course, when music videos really became a big thing. And at that time, I really liked that. I found that fascinating. Not the videos where people just dance and shake their booties and whatever, but the more experimental things. So we did one for track Sing to Me, and then another one for our friends, techno remix by the Violent Blondes, and then another track for something called Northern Lights. That was, by the way, later remixed by the drum and bass artist Exila. He's on Metalhead's Goldie's label, and that was all fun. And we had it was notably more traffic that these videos and these pieces of music also attracted, and we thought, okay, that's interesting. We want to do more, but I didn't want to really start to do massive productions and have teams running around. So that was when I ran into the concept of fractals. And fractals, that's really a world in itself, and we could probably dig deeper into what this is, but fractals are mathematical formulas that describe whole worlds. And I have a good friend of mine who's a movie producer, and he's really into technology and animation, and together we started to explore these fractal worlds, and pretty soon we had some rather amazing and very, very strange visuals that were just inspiring. We looked at these things and said, whoa, we have never seen anything like that. And so that was basically the starting point And we said, we have something here and we want to explore that, and we don't want to just do one video and then just do something else. We want to spend more time with that.
So yeah, 2020 has brought a brand new project, a brand new concept to Sonarpilot Audio, and it's called the Mirage Project, a collection of 6 fractal videos that you've created. Each one has a bit of a narrative. The first release, the first video published was called City in the Sky. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, City in the Sky is actually these, it's, just imagine you look in the, it's very early in the morning, and you look towards the east, and there's this speck on the horizon, and you don't know what it is, and it just comes closer, and you think, oh, it could be the morning star, but no, it's growing, and it gets bigger and bigger, and then you see this amazing structure of towers and buildings and things that you've never seen before, just floating through the sky over the horizon towards you, and you think, whoa, that's just, what is that? And it's totally quiet. It's totally quiet. It's like a hot air balloon, if you ever seen one of those. It just sails across the firmament, and you look at it, and before you know, it is gone. It's just disappeared, and you have no clue what this was. It is a true mirage, but it is a mirage where you see something that could be somewhere. It is actually a structure that could be a city, and the whole thing is about, it's about impermanence, evanescence, if you want. This is obviously it's a technologically far advanced structure that must have been built by someone, and it just happened to drift by. And but there is no one left in this building, in these buildings, in these towers, and it just shows that even the most advanced civilizations, at some point in time, they just disappear. You added 1,000, 10,000, a million years here, and things just disappear, like one of these Mayan temples in South America. We still discover some of these amazing structures, and we don't know what's still on Earth, on our surface of the planet. We don't know what's left there. And if you think about the vastness of the universe, you have no clue whatsoever what's out there. So this is a bit about these themes.
Yes, that's City in the Sky, the first of the Mirage Project videos to be released. That's out now. Michael, science fiction, futurism, the world of science seems to permeate kind of everything you do as an artist. That's something that's been very clear to me over the years. What have you read recently? What have you seen? What have you listened to that from that world that's kind of inspired you recently, and inspired what type of content you've created with the Mirage Project?
Yeah, let me suggest a book, a podcast, a little bit of sci-fi, and perhaps a bit of music that I thought was interesting here. There's a beautiful book which is called "Searching for Stars on an Island in Maine" by Alan Lightman. Alan Lightman is really an interesting character. He's a novelist and a physicist, and he was the first person to be awarded a joint professorship in literature and astrophysics at MIT, so the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. And he has this beautiful style to talk about scientific topics in a very poetic way, in a very straightforward language. It's not complicated, but it's just very beautiful. And this specific book starts. His family, they have a home on a very tiny island off the coast of Maine, and starts on a clear night when Lightman was on a boat alone back to the island, and he cuts off the engine, and he lies on his back, and he looks into the stars, and the sky is vibrating with stars, and he has that kind of that feeling of intense weightlessness, and that's the starting point. And I guess we all know this feeling, this one sense of wonderment. And from there, he develops it's short chapters about our life, our mortality, the vastness of the cosmos, and what we know scientifically about the cosmos. And it's a very, very beautiful book. Not very thick, and it's something that you can just have on your nightstand, and from time to time you just pick it up and read a few pages. It's great. The next thing would be a podcast. I love that podcast. It's called AI, Artificial Intelligence, and it's hosted by Lex Friedman. Lex is, again, he's a super bright kid. He was born in Moscow, and he has double nationality. He's Russian and American. And he's now a professor at MIT and he's working as a research scientist. And his focus is deep in reinforced learning, autonomous vehicles, artificial intelligence, and so forth. And he has these guests, really impressive list of guests like Gary Kasparov, Elon Musk, Michio Kaku, and they talk about all kinds of things, really a wide-ranging, menu of topics, from, deep space, the future of mankind, artificial intelligence, mind and matter, and so forth. And Lex has this. He's this almost like a mad Russian genius. He has this wonderful voice, and he's very compassionate. He loves this science, and he also has the very human touch to discuss it with his hosts. He doesn't shy away from asking also very personal questions. So it's a very beautiful series of very personal interviews, but that also dig deep into some fundamental and fascinating scientific questions. Then what else? TV or movie. There I'd say Devs was really great. It's an 8-part miniseries written and directed by Alex Garland. The guy who wrote The Beach back in the 1990s, the was later turned into a film with DiCaprio. He directed Sunshine. That was, I guess, 2007. And then, of course, Ex Machina, and then Annihilation. And Devs is, I guess, his first TV. It's his first work that he did for TV, and it's just very beautiful and just very. I mean, the photography is fascinating. The story is good. The writing is good, and it has this quiet, intelligent approach that I like in science fiction. So that's I thought that was fun to watch. And last but not least, some music that I was listening to while I was working on some of those tracks. It's like to start with Caterina Barbieri. She's probably not that well known, but she's a classically trained musician. She's a guitarist, and she started to work with the Buchla synthesizer, one of these modular synthesizers, and she released a series of very nice albums. I guess the last one is Ecstatic Computation, and I think it's a beautiful album. Another Italian would be Alessandro Cortini. The album would be Avanti, very slow and more of an ambient album. He's known as a guitar and bass player and the keyboard player in the American band Nine Inch Nails. So he's been around for a long time, and his music is very fascinating. I like that a lot. And then perhaps Tale of Us. That's this Italian duo, Carmine Conte and Matteo Milleri, who live now in Berlin, and they have started their own label called Afterlife, and they have released a series of more club-oriented samplers. And then they had a release on Deutsche Grammophon in 2017, which is more ambient classical LP with more Eno-esque type of music. So that's also very interesting what they're doing there. So that would be a good mix that could set you on track to do something interesting.
Absolutely. Also, films, soundtracks, film scores. I know that's something that you're very passionate about. Could you play us something, maybe?
Well, I have a bit of a selection here. I mean, the first would be music for films. I guess the title of the album says it all. And the interesting thing is it's by Brian Eno in 1976, and there are no films that come with that album. It's really, the concept of the album is you listen to the album and the film is in your head. And I love that from the beginning. Eno printed, I guess, a run of 750 albums and sent that out to movie producers. I don't even know if anyone ever used that music for a movie. But for me, I remember, back then, I had my first Sony Walkman, these things with a cassette player, and I was still living at home by that time, and we had a dog there, and my sister and I took turns walking the dog in the evening, and I remember going out at night in this quiet suburban Swiss environment, and it was snowing, and I was listening to music for films by Brian Eno, and that was just magic. It just blew my mind. I knew this was just the reality looked so much different. So it is something that stayed with me all these years. I don't think that music for films is his best album, ambient album, but it's something which is I'll always remember that. And then, of course, the other one, the next one that influenced me, it was Vangelis's soundtrack for the Blade Runner. Some of it is just so great. It's just, I don't know how many times I watched that movie back then. It just spoke to us, all these misfits, these automatons that had these, weird backgrounds, and it was something which at that time was just, for a whole generation, I guess, it was a movie that we felt at home, and of course the soundtrack was always there. Now, fast forward to something way more modern, and that's Arrival. Again, a magnificent science fiction movie, I think, very, very elegant, with very just original ideas how aliens could look, how they could communicate. And Johan Johansson has written a beautiful score for that movie. I think the soundtrack really supports the wonderful photography in a super elegant way.
You're listening to episode 1 of the Sonarpilot podcasts. My name is Johnny Miller, label manager at Sonarpilot Audio, and with me is Michael Moppet, aka Sonarpilot. Michael, I want to get back onto the Mirage project, the latest concept album that you've created for Sonarpilot Audio, and I want to delve into a little bit of the backstory of the production, because I know it's a little bit different when you've got audio and visual. How did that all work?
Well, usually you have a piece of music and then someone produces a video to promote that music. And the video is, in most instances, it's not as important for the whole creative process. At the end of the day, it's a musician who sells music, and video just comes along with it. Or then you have a filmmaker, and they shoot something, and then they need some music underneath, and then they buy some canned music, or they have a musician producing something for them. But then, the music just supports the visual. What we wanted to do is really try to create something where the visual and the audio has the same importance and should also be created in parallel. So what we did is we started to select images that we found in these fractal worlds that we felt were fascinating or interesting, or that we wanted to explore further, and started to dig in deeper. And at the same time, I was beginning to look around for ideas, musical ideas that would specifically support this world, so that this world, consists of music and of visuals, like our world does consist of these different impressions. And then, we had a first stream of rough renderings of these worlds, and we started to put them together, to edit them. And at the same time, then I worked on the music, and I made it more precise. I tried to really match the rhythm of the visual flow and support it properly, and so we went back and forth. And then I had the privilege that I could edit the music and the video at the same time in parallel. It's a tedious process, or a laborious process, I should say. It takes really a long time. Then you go back and forth all the time until you have something which really supports each other in an optimal way. But it's also very satisfying, because it's the full impact of what you create with those two elements is really is amazing, can be amazing. And so it usually, for one of these mirages, they are 8-10 minutes long. I worked for about 2 months on one of those mirages to finalize then the music and the video. So it is a laborious process, but it is really, really, really very interesting and creatively very satisfying. It's something completely different and very inspiring. Something completely different when you think of just doing a track, releasing a track, and moving on from there.
You're listening to the Sonarpilot podcast, episode 1, and in the background underneath us, Fossil by Sonarpilot. That's the second Mirage from the Mirage Project series to have been published. And of course, all these videos and the full story behind the Mirage Project you can see at themirageproject.com, of course. And as we move into August, Michael, the third Mirage that's lined up to be released is called Codex. And this one feels different to me. It's, out of all 6 Mirages, this one feels almost a bit more human, a bit more real world.
You're right. In Code X, we are using some real-world footage. Not a lot. It really sets a bit of a framework. It creates a bit of a framework for what we're telling as a story. The whole thing is perhaps a bit more meditative than the first 2 videos. I think we are really in weird times, and sometimes it's good to take a step back and try to see things in perspective, and that's what I guess we are trying to do with Code X. Code X is about science and our place in the cosmos and where we see ourselves in the universe. It shows elements of a 16th century codex, scientific at that time, scientific piece of work, and this codex tries to explain the nature of the cosmos, the macrocosmos, the microcosmos, and our position as humans within this whole thing. Within this whole system, and to our eyes, this looks quaint and cute and just completely outdated. But at that time, it was the best of knowledge that was around. It was this was what we thought was out there and where we were in this universe. And today, of course, we have far advanced technologies, and we peer into the night sky and we see the echo of the Big Bang 13.6 billion years ago, and we drill into the atoms, into subatomic particles. We look at quarks, and we look at things underneath these structures. And we believe, we are just very close. It's just at the tip of our tongue, this word formula that we can really explain everything. And, if we just fast forward 300 years and people look back to our world and, our science, our world will look as quaint and as antiquated as this codex, and it will never end. And then, in Codex, we see these futuristic structures that some far, far, far advanced civilization may have created. And even then, in 10,000 years, in 50,000 years, in 100,000 years, even then, we will never be able to solve all the mysteries, answer all the questions, and we will never be able to really say, okay, where do we come from? Where do we go? We will always be in a tiny boat that is just drifting through this vast ocean of the universe, and all we really have at the end of the day is ourselves and our friends and our families and our societies, and all of that will change fundamentally, but it's the humanity that at the end will still be with us and will still be important, no matter what we learn about the world. And I'm excited about everything that we can learn out there, but we also have to keep in mind that it's our humanity that is at the core really what's important for all of us.
Michael, thank you so much for joining us today. Thanks so much for giving us that little bit of insight into the Mirage project and some of the ideas behind it. So this has been Sonarpilot Podcasts, Episode 1. My name's Johnny Miller. I'm the label manager at Sonarpilot Audio. And we're going to be back next month, probably towards the end of August, with Episode 2. Till then, you can check all the references, everything Michael's been talking about today, in the credits, in the details for this podcast below, as they say. All the links are all there for the music, the films, the books. Everything's there. And of course, you can follow us on social media. Twitter is at Sonarpilot Audio. Same with Instagram as well, Sonarpilot Audio, all one word. On Facebook, facebook.com/Sonarpilot. And our main hub online for the Mirage project is at themirageproject.com. Make sure you head over there and subscribe. Fill in your details and you'll get newsletters. We're going to be giving away some music and videos to our members. So yeah, get over there, hit the subscribe button, and be sure to check us again next month. Till then, take care, stay safe, peace.